Greetings. I am Paula Ware. I am the founding CEO of Urban Schools Collaborative, and I am here today to present to you an opportunity to be insightful into the realm of education, into public education here in America. I want to present to you some questions that will provoke thought, that will provoke insight, that will provoke you to go deeper, to explore more into the American classrooms. Today's topic is mass incarceration in the public schoolroom, in the public classroom, in the public sector of education. I want to provoke you to go beyond the scope of what we see day to day in the news as it regards to education, as it regards to the social and emotional, as well as the academics that are connected to our classrooms today. How many of you have had the opportunity to sit in a classroom? How many of you have had an opportunity to speak to a teacher or a child, a student, a youth, a juvenile who's been in a school that may not have necessarily met the social, emotional, and academic needs of those students, of those teachers, of those administrators, of those school communities, and those school districts? I'd like to have an opportunity to speak to you about mass incarceration. Now, what we will talk about today is the truth of what goes on behind closed doors in many classrooms. The truth about what teachers and educators and administrators experience behind closed door, after the bell sounds, before the bell sounds for the closing of the day. What really goes on behind some of those closed doors? I'm speaking to you today about mass incarceration. Well, you're probably saying, why mass incarceration? First of all, let's address what is incarceration, all right? So today we're going to go deeper into this topic, and I want to give you the definition of what Merriam-Webster says about incarceration. The definition of incarceration is this: confinement in a jail or prison, and the act of imprisoning someone or the state of being imprisoned. Okay, so I know you're wondering where you're going with this and why. I'm going to take you to a place that will give you real live footage of what has been recorded in some of today's troubled classrooms, in some of today's troubled schools. Now, my focus today is on America because that's where I am. Now, this will go to a different level and we'll explore further when prompted, when led. Amen. I'm saying amen. Listen, I'm a minister. I may say that from time to time, but the truth of the matter is we can't talk about education without talking about God. So at some point, we have to make sure that we connect the two. You cannot address God's children without addressing God. That's just the truth of the matter. Okay, so let's move forward. So now that we know what the definition of incarceration is, it can be a state or an act of imprisonment, imprisoning someone. And so today I want to share with you a closer look at where the alarm needs to be sounded, where we need to be warned, we need to be made aware, we need to be alerted. There is a problem. I am not discrediting the wonderful teachers, administrators, school leaders, school administrators on higher levels in school districts. I am not discrediting the work of those who love what they do for children, who are passionate about children. I am here today to address a greater need that we are not addressing properly, that has not been addressed fully. We have a problem. This is a state of an emergency. I want to share with you today some videos that I have found on YouTube, and these videos are taken from the perspective of students in the classroom. They're taken from the perspective of teachers who've been interviewed, and some will have insight beyond what we could even imagine that actually happens inside our schools. And from there, we'll take a closer look at what happens in our prison systems. Are the two really able to be compared? Can we make a sound comparison about our schools and the classrooms and the things that are happening that really do not justify the livelihood socially and emotionally and academically for our youth today? I want to share some alarming numbers with you. I want to share information with you that should raise your eyebrows, that should perk up your ears and should touch your heart. Are you aware that since 2013, studies have shown that 60,000 juveniles, youth, young children, are incarcerated daily? This is a state of emergency. Daily, 60,000 youth, juveniles, are incarcerated daily. Now, if in America we break that down to 50 states, then that would be an average of about 1,200 per day, per state. Some states have higher numbers, so if I just make a blanket statement and saying we do an average, that would be an average per state. But that is not the fact. Some states have higher numbers than others. It's still alarming. It's still a state of emergency. I am calling today for the alarms to be sounded in your schools, in your communities, in your city, in your neighborhood, in your state, in the nation. I am asking for those who have children, for those who teach children, for those who love children and have a compassion to work with children, to assist, that you will join me in a worldwide, yes, worldwide movement to resurrect and reform education, to meet the needs of the least to the greatest, for those who are strong and can function independently, as well as those who are struggling before they even come to school, for those who sit in classrooms depressed, hurting, having major deficiencies in their lives, go overlooked, go unaddressed, their needs are not met. Now, I know there's going to be someone who's going to say, well, my responsibility as a teacher is to be the teacher. The truth of the matter, if we go back to the one-room school, those teachers played many roles, taught every subject, wore many hats, gave a lot of love. There was a classroom from kindergartner to high schoolers in one room. And today we have so many luxuries in our classrooms, departments, compartments, varied curriculum for varied ages, specific targets met for those who have needs that might be socially or emotionally deficient, challenging, dysfunctional even. Can you imagine what that teacher in that one-room classroom would have to say if she were given the opportunity to teach in today's classrooms here in America? I'm speaking of the United States of America. We have a problem. So I want to share today a couple of videos that will give you a real life view of what can happen and does happen in our classrooms. Hold on tight as we watch.
Tell all. Every day, I had to talk myself into going into work.
The NBC 10 investigators surveyed hundreds of school teachers.
Aggression between kids is a real issue.
What they told us reveals trouble in the classroom.
If the parents knew truthfully what went on in the schools, there would be repercussions.
Philadelphia schools' district-wide test results show that when it comes to math, science, and literacy, tests don't crack 50% proficiency. That's according to performance testing results district-wide. The NBC 10 investigators, we wanted to understand exactly what was standing in the way of learning. And the first thing that we learned was that teachers are stressed. Philadelphia school teachers say they're risking their jobs to talk to us.
I have high school kids who read at a kindergarten level.
They wanted to explain why test scores for literacy, math, and science remain low inside Philadelphia's schools.
We're asked to teach to the test. They will come right out and tell you, if it's not a test-taking skill, don't teach it.
Some blamed classroom disruptions,
Chaos.
I can describe it as students running around the school like a pack of wolves all day long.
Some pointed to class size.
In my experience, once you pass 20 kids, that's when you start to see a lot of the problem behaviors.
More than 500 Philadelphia school teachers took our Teachers Tell All survey. The survey found almost 60% say they have considered leaving the profession in the last 2 years.
Everything is dictated to you. You have basically no say. It's almost as if we're reading from a script.
They described a disconnect between teaching to students' needs and abilities and teaching to a state test.
How can you teach a child at the 9th grade level when he can't even comprehend on a 4th grade level?
In our survey, teachers identified the biggest hurdle to staying in the classroom. Number one, with 41%, is stress associated with demands on teachers. Number two, student behavior. Pay was third. The current pay scale for Philadelphia teachers is between $46,000 and $84,000. That depends on education and experience. 35% of teachers surveyed said a raise is the number one thing that would get them to stay.
The rate of teacher quitting is about double that of professors, for instance. It's even higher than nurses. It's even a little higher in police, which surprised me.
Richard Ingersoll is an education and sociology professor at the University of Pennsylvania. His research shows more than 40% of teachers nationwide leave teaching within 5 years of entering it.
It's not that we produce too few, it's that we lose too many.
The district says most of its teachers stay, and records given to the Department of Education by the district over the last 5 years show that more than 90% of teachers stay in their jobs. But the head of the Philadelphia Teachers Union does not believe that number.
I don't believe that it's 90%, particularly in a number of schools that each year have a large number of teacher vacancies that they have to fill.
Stability is important. Stability is extremely important.
We wanted to talk with Philadelphia School Superintendent William Hite specifically about what teachers told us in our survey. We sent the results to the district's communications staff, but Hite said he hadn't seen what teachers told us and wasn't interested in talking about our survey.
Welcome back. I know that video is alarming, as it should be. That's its purpose, to alarm, to alert, to identify a problem. Now, if we work in solution-based companies and organizations and institutions, I am believing that we can come together on one accord, in unity, to develop programs, curriculum, extracurricular activity, conferences. We need to come together collectively as one for the sole purpose of helping those who cannot help themselves. We have to step up and be the voice for our children. We have to step up and not only be the voice for the children, but their families. Do you know that there are children who come to school hungry because there's no food at home? Do you know that there are children who come to school not prepared because they don't have supplies, they don't have backpacks, they don't have pencils, they don't have paper at home. They don't have resources that we call resources that make them productive in class, that make them independent learners. Would you believe that in 2020, there are still students who don't have food at home, who don't have pencils, who don't have paper, who certainly wouldn't have a binder if they don't have pencils and paper, who may not even have snacks, who may not even have parents or adults at home to monitor them before, during, or after school hours? Would you believe that in 2020, 60,000 students plus are incarcerated all over America daily? Sounds ridiculous.
Kids ought to be weary of a stranger, okay? But maybe you don't have good sense because you're sitting here arguing with me and you're making me mad, and I'm going to send you to the office if you don't shut up!
I'm sure you're wondering, what would make a teacher so unhappy? What would make an administrator so unhappy? for your child to go to school, excited to go to school, to walk into a classroom where desks are being thrown, curse words are flying across the air. Children are depressed, they're hungry, they're lost. But there are certain students who come to school every day feeling excited, who've been loved and nourished, and who are also longing to come to school as a safe place because they enjoy education, they enjoy learning, and they walk into a room where desks are flying, curse words are flying, tempers are rising. Can you imagine what that does to the mind of a youth? Not just a youth who may not have support and love at home, but a youth that does have love and support at home. What if I'm coming to school and I'm already depressed? And it may not be me that the teacher's throwing words at or desks are flying, but I'm in the midst of it. What happens to that student? How do we respond? What's the solution? How do we fix and mend these cases of 60,000 plus students a day being incarcerated? What's the answer? Do you have the answer? Let's share. Let's come together and share. And I also want to address the teachers and the educators who are coming to school, who've been out the night before, who've been having a good time at happy hour just to drink those problems away, smoke those problems away. I don't know. Depression, oppression. Listen, people have become good at putting on masks and showing up for 8 hours with song and dance to put the mask on and take the mask off when the door opens and you have a visitor pop into your room. They're becoming professional actors. They have learned how to mask the pain, the hurt, the agony, the depression, the oppression, the anger, the rage, the bitterness. It's being masked. How do we help those people? How do we help the teachers who have come into the school system thinking that, well, maybe education is the route I should go because being a banker just didn't do it for me. Let me try education, not because of passion and compassion for children, but because it's stable. How do we have an opportunity to come together? How can we get an opportunity to come together to address the staff, the teachers? They have needs as well. It could be the school leadership who comes to school with a mask on, closes their door, never leaves because they're going through something. Do you have an answer? I'm asking that you join us on a mission, on a move to reform incarceration in the classroom. Let's start with America. But we know that there are global issues. Let's start with America, the land of the free.
Skyline High School. Happened yesterday. And only on Fox 4, Sean Rabb has the cell phone video of the swearing substitute.
What I'm gonna do to you? What you? I'm gonna get one of my Bezos to take care of you.
This is part of the caught-on cell phone camera exchange between Skyline High School substitute Mark Schaefer and student Eric Malone Jr. in geometry class Monday. A recording the teacher was aware of.
The students had told me that he was saying racial slurs, that he said little black kid, and I asked him, did he say little black kid? And he's like, yes, I probably did say it, and I probably said worse.
It continues. The substitute not just directing comments at Malone anymore.
You're too lightweight for me.
Okay.
Get one of your Mexican friends to play with. They call them in LA, they call them vatos.
The Skyline Jr. then asked a question, getting the sub to repeat what he said earlier.
But what you say you gonna do to my daddy?
I'm gonna have a little chat with him.
Nah, what you say? You say you gonna put a cap in him?
If he wants to mess with me, I will, yeah.
So when he tell my child the things that he would do if I came to the school to visit to see what the problem was, then it made me feel bad.
And then the profanity.
Hey, you want to me? I'll show you what time it is in Detroit, mother Michigan, right now.
Welcome back. I am certain that you didn't get through that video without feeling some compassion of some sort. Some compassion and some desire to move in light of reform. These systems have to be reformed. These classrooms have to be reformed. Schools have to be reformed. School districts, school institutions have to be reformed. Because we are only as great as the weakest link. If our children are hurting, what can we expect to happen when they exit the school systems, when they graduate? What are we expecting the world to be like once our children who have not been taught, loved, guided, cared for properly? What do we expect to happen to the world? Who's responsible? Those are good questions. Those are questions we need to discuss. What can we do from here? So on today, I'm asking that you search your heart. If you're a teacher and you're watching, and you are not that teacher that I'm speaking about who doesn't care to be with children, I commend you. If you have chosen your career path as an educator or an educational administrator with love and compassion for youth, and you want to see them be great because they're our future, I salute you. I'm honored. I'm honored to know that there are great teachers, great administrators, great schools and great school systems and districts, great institutions with many thousands and thousands of loving and caring and qualified, highly qualified instructors, staff that go above and beyond. There are many educators out there who close school buildings when the school administrator has already left the building. There are many who are there burning the midnight oil, trying to save 1, 2, 20, as many as possible, because they have a passion, they have a call on their life to work with you. I commend you. I salute you. On today, I think it's imperative that we salute those who are doing a wonderful and phenomenal job. I also think it is our requirement, it is our task, it is our assignment. If you have been called to work with children, if it is your purpose, it might even be a God-given purpose. If you have a passion for the lives of children and you understand they are our future, and you want to move forward in coming together collectively in unity to be the solution, to move and work toward a collective goal, to provide environments that are loving and caring with highly qualified staff, loving and caring staff. School leadership is strong and loving and caring, and listen, it just trickles down from the top. And that love just overflows into the school building. When you walk into the school, you feel it. You know the moment you walk into a school, that environment will cry out to you. It will speak. It begins with the front office. Yes, it begins with the front office. You can tell something about the school administrator by the school receptionist, the secretary, the executive administrator. You can tell something about the leadership based on the first face you see. Is it a smile? Is it warm? Is it receiving and welcoming? Or is it a disgruntled person who sits in a role that changes the tone, the atmosphere, the energy of the entire day when you encounter speaking to that person. We need to be mindful that who welcomes people into our building first should be someone who is loving and kind to all people, especially children. So on today, I pray that you will go back to this video and look at those videos that I've posted here and shared. And I want you to understand that it must be real if 60,000 youth, juveniles, are being incarcerated daily. It's not just Houston we have a problem. America, we have a problem. Will you join the movement? Will you join forces with Urban Schools Collaborative to be a solution, to work toward one common goal, that every child that enters our school systems will learn, be loved, grow, and graduate as an independent, strong citizen with great character. And love and kindness will drive them socially, emotionally, and academically. I pray and I celebrate that this has been a blessing and that this message has sounded the alarm and that America is ready to reform education for the sole purpose of our youth. That we no longer take third grade reading levels for those who cannot read on level in third grade. We will no longer design prisons. We will no longer prepare for prison beds because that has been one of the determining factors of how many prisons will need to be built by the time those students graduate high school, if they should graduate. It's alarming. I want to encourage you today, be a mentor. If you can't get to the schools, if you can't be a volunteer, join forces with us today. Reach out. Our phone number is 713-659-9311. Again, my name is Paula Ware. I'm the founding CEO of Urban Schools Collaborative. We are based in Houston, but we have a global mission. Will you join us? Until we get an opportunity to meet, be blessed and have a wonderful day. Thank you.